Hi everyone, so today I'm going to go ahead and go over your third project of the semester, which is the Analytical Report. This is your MWA3, and I'm going to go through everything required and listed in the prompt, and just to give you a little bit of a better idea of the genre itself and what you're going to be including in the project. So your MWA3 in this project is centered around the Analytical Report. Particularly, we're going to be working with the recommendation report. It's one of the subgenres of an analytical report. I chose this one because it does have some similarities to the proposal which you just worked on. But it actually does also have a lot of very large differences, but you'll note, some similar features. This is a little bit more concise in nature, less persuasive, using very clear language. So I'm going to go ahead and just go and walk you through each section of this project and thinking of everything you need to include when you're turning this in at the end of the month. So when you're writing your recommendation report, you're going to be investigating a UNM resource, local business, or a city attraction, and to offer suggestions to help the group or organization work towards universal design. So you may be wondering, what the heck is universal design and why are we going to be using this? So universal design is a notion where you're working to ensure that a document or an environment or product or technology can be used by the greatest amount of people. So from young to old, to disabled, to able-bodied, to temporarily disabled, to people with language barriers or learning disabilities. Thinking of trying to have this be used by almost anybody with little to no struggle. So I'll offer other presentations as well going over this notion, but this is kind of what we're using as our framework. But you do have some flexibility here where you can think of a UNM resource, a local business, or a city attraction, or and then within that you can think of the physical environment or the documents that they're putting out, thinking of ways in which you can make these easier and more accessible in nature. So it's not just about adding more wheelchair ramps or things like that. It's different things as well if you'd want to do that. When you're thinking of your actual report, this needs to be at least 1,000 words in length, and this does not include your front and back matter, which we'll get to later. You're also going to integrate 2 graphics of your own creation, just like you did for the proposal. So some sort of table, chart, a graph, just something to help illustrate some of the material that you're including in there. And you're also going to follow all genre expectations as it's listed out in chapter 10 of your book. Along with this report, you're going to create a multimodal presentation. So this won't be anything super new. You're going to be using the material from your report, not simply copying and pasting it, but pulling certain aspects of it and putting this in presentation form. So you have the option to choose between a narrated slideshow presentation using something like PowerPoint, Prezi, Google Slides, or something else, or a narrated poster presentation. Which we'll get to in a little bit for both of those. And again, you're going to make sure you're following all genre expectations. And then, just like all of our other projects, you're also going to include a reflection. This time it's going to come in the form of a reflective memo. So you'll answer the questions listed on the prompt, and then this will be 500 to 750 words and following all genre expectations. So, what do you need to include in this recommendation report? Recommendation reports generally come in this following manner. We have our front matter, which is the cover page, and then following the cover page is a table of contents and an abstract. Then this follows with an introduction, methodology, results, discussion of the results, and then a final recommendation or conclusion. It's kind of lumped together there. And then at the very end, you have your back matter, which includes your works cited page and your appendix. Your appendix is just any other additional information that you weren't able to list within the report. So, your front matter. This is your cover page, table of contents, and abstract. Cover page should be on its own separate page. You can use a template. Word allows you to insert a cover page. You can make these whatever color you want, including images. Something like that would really help illustrate the point. You can name this report whatever you'd like, and it's usually good to also address the group that you are writing to. You also need to include a table of contents, so this should start with the page number of your introduction and go on from there. And then you're going to be including an abstract, which is 1 to 2 sentences for each section of the report, just describing and detailing what each of those sections are. It's a bit of a preview of what's to come. They're usually single space and directly beneath the table of contents. So all of that's lumped together on one page. So usually your front matter is about 2 pages. 1, the cover page, and 2, the table of contents and abstract. This abstract really is like a little bit of a summary, something like if you were about to buy a book, you're going to read the summary. It's acting in a very similar fashion. Your introduction is going to follow. It's defining the subject. So what is the problem here? Stating the purpose and the main point. So the purpose, your research question, and your main points, things that you gathered. Stress your importance. So this is the importance for your, in this case, of universal design. Why does this group or organization need to go through with one of these recommendations? Why is this important for them to go ahead and read? And then offering some background information. So this can come in the form of what is universal design, or what exactly is the problem, giving them a little bit more information since you don't have a section clearly dedicated to what's going on or what this problem is. And then you're going to forecast the organization of the report. So telling them what they are about to read, what they can expect in the following pages. Your methodology is like a recipe of sorts. This is a little bit of a set of instructions or that offer some clear steps illustrating how you're going to answer your research question. This is the area where you're defining your research techniques. So are you going to be interviewing subject matter experts, gathering information online, maybe through online academic journals or news articles? Or are you going to conduct primary research, including surveys or observations, or maybe all 3 of these are going to be working together, which is really often the case, a mixture of both primary and secondary research. The methodology is here so they know what you searched, how you went about doing this. You're not going to talk about what you found out just yet. This is all instructions in a way of what exactly you did, how you went about doing it. So if somebody wanted to replicate the results, they could do it. So if you're interviewing subject matter experts, who are you going to interview and what are you going to ask them? If you're gathering information online, what articles or what databases are you going to use, or websites? And then if you're conducting primary research, where are you going to go? What are you going to pay attention to? If you're surveying, what are the questions that you're going to include? And then with your results of research, this is where you summarize the major findings of your research. So listing, following those steps, what did you gather from your interview or your survey? What did you gather from your research online? You're not going to tell them everything you found out because sometimes the things that you found aren't really relevant. So you're going to discuss the most important things that relate and can help you formulate some recommendations. It's usually helpful to break it into a couple of sections. An introduction that summarizes the major findings. So here's what I gathered from surveys and observations, and then I gathered some really helpful facts from online research. Breaking that down a little bit more. And then having a body that analyzes more thoroughly those most important findings and data. And then you can have an optional closing statement or section to summarize all this material again. For the discussion of the results, this is not the same thing as the results of research. This is furthering this, where you're going over your suggested options or solutions that are going to address that research question you had initially. So these are your recommendations, and one of them will be your final recommendation. So that final recommendation shouldn't come out of the blue. That should be discussed somewhere here in the discussion of the results. You're going to integrate within here as well what your results of your research say about these options. So, do most people feel more comfortable with, this certain recommendation? Or do subject matter experts think that you should go about this way? Things like that. And then you're going to, the thing that you want to consider as well in this section is your recommendations should obviously stem from your research. So all of this should seem like it belongs together. Your research should kind of build on these, show that none of this is really new information that's out of the blue for your readers. And then your final recommendation, this is where you're concluding the document and then also giving your final recommendation. Here's what I suggest you do. Since this is a conclusion, you need to make a transition that signals this is the end of the document, restate the main point, final recommendation, and re-emphasizing the importance of the study. Why was this important to do, and why is this important to go forth with? And then looking to the future. If this was something that was implemented, why would this be a benefit to them? Thank them for their time and also offer some contact information. And then your back matter, this is your works cited page. So since this is a very research heavy document, any of the secondary research that you included in your document, you're going to be citing there in that page according to MLA format. And then you're also going to have an appendix of additional materials. So if you have other graphics or if you have a really detailed report of the survey you conducted, something like that, you can reference within the body of your report and then direct them to the end of the page so you're not taking up too much space within that and overwhelming your readers. So along with this project, you're also doing a multimodal presentation. I decided to have your multimodal component be in the form of a presentation because they are one of the most common things associated with reports. So generally, if you were working in a business environment and if your boss wanted you to recommend a solution after researching a few of your options, you're going to present it to, maybe the board or a group of individuals within your work. If you were hired on as a consultant, if you're working in the sciences and they want to know what are some of these options, you often have to present your findings because it helps break down the material. Now that you're kind of this expert, you've done all of this great research, now you need to explain it to everybody else. So that's why we're doing it in the presentation. But we have two options. One of them is a narrated slide presentation. So this is something like I'm doing now using PowerPoint or Google Slide or Prezi. You're going to narrate it, and it's going to be 3 to 5 minutes in length, so nothing too long so you don't have to overwhelm yourself. And this is going to be an accompaniment to your report, so you're not going to just copy and paste every single word that's on your report and throw on some images or put it on some slides. You're going to choose an angle. So for example, maybe you're going to address the problem, maybe briefly go over your research, some key findings you found out, then go over the recommendations, and then the final one. This is really helpful to integrate both graphics and text, so some images, some graphs, text, not having too much on the page, and thinking of good presentation and design elements, which we're going to go go into more detail much later in the project. And then you're going to be narrating this using Jing or Screencast-O-Matic or another software. So if you have a Mac, you can use the software on the Mac or a PC. They sometimes have them built in as well. Or you can do a narrated poster presentation. So if you don't want to go through with a slideshow and maybe you're wanting to do something that would be used more in the sciences, something like at a conference, sometimes they're also used in the business environment. So if you're in a boardroom and you're doing this, sometimes you just have the one poster so everybody's not overwhelmed. This you can use using PowerPoint or maybe Canva as well. This is usually on just one page. You're not having multiple pages. This is going to be 3 to 5 minutes in length, just like the first option. And it'll serve as a shortened version of your actual report. So you'll include each key section and then kind of summarize the data and findings from that. And this is again being narrated using the same softwares. Here is an example of a poster presentation, often found, in the academic context, so something like conferences, things like that, where you have each key section of the document, including some graphics, the title of the project or the report, and each of your major findings or information from each of those sections. So that's all I have for you now. If you're still needing any further clarification, I strongly recommend you review the prompt again, which can be found in those two locations on the left-hand side of Learn and then in our folder as well for the very first week. If you have any questions, post them to the Writers Lounge or you can email me directly.